Logic. He's missing. I'm starting to worry.
Who's Logic?
The guy with the top hat and the 3D glasses.
Oh, you mean that atheist YouTuber that you copied?
What? No.
Yeah, you're like the exact same thing, man. You're such a ripoff.
No, I'm a cartoon character. We're not even the same. We're totally different.
No, same thing.
So June's found another one.
So Izet found another one. I'm a little late to the party on this one. Sue me, I've been away, then I was sick, then I was busy, but I have an awful lot to say about this video, and I think I'm the person who needs to say some of it, so even though I'm a bit late, I'm not just gonna let it slide.
The prophecy foretold of the day that all the skeptic clones would amass and descend upon me, and all in one unified voice tell me why they are so much better than me and why I'm the worst skeptic of them all. Despite the fact that I'm many times more popular than any of them.
Okay, what is this? Your second sentence? And I already have a problem. This could just be an ironic joke, right? You know, they say you're a bad skeptic, so you have your character, if you want to call it that, play dumb and rebut this claim about your poor skepticism with a logical fallacy, thus subverting expectations by exhibiting poor skepticism but with an implied wink at the audience. It could be that that's what you're going for, and since I like to be charitable, I'm going to assume that it was. But aside from nitpicking the delivery, which makes it kind of unclear, it really just comes across as an excuse to tell everyone, again, how enormously self-satisfied you are with your popularity. This is just going to become more and more apparent as we go along, and that's one reason that I wanted to respond to this video. It's the least important reason, and this alone wouldn't have prompted a video response since I'm used to seeing this stuff every time your name appears on my screen, but it's still a reason. I'm just not a huge fan of narcissism. Mostly, I just find it what you might call cringe. I find it embarrassing on behalf of the people who publicly flaunt the fact that they're afflicted by it. And when I hear it, it makes me want to encourage a little bit of modesty. I usually don't bother to do it because I just don't have any reason to, it doesn't serve any purpose. But when it comes to you, I've heard this completely unjustified bullshit from you enough times, and unfortunately my name has become closely enough associated with yours that I'd like to distance myself from you and from this kind of behavior from you by exposing its weak foundation.
Apparently this skeptic clone has done a couple of videos about me, but I'm just gonna watch the one today.
Yeah, skeptic clone. You keep saying that, and now you've got me curious. Who is this person, and how are they a skeptic clone? Do they have a knight avatar? Does it wear a suit? Do they employ a similar debunk and presentation style to yours? Do they have little skits with a demon and an angel? How close exactly does a channel need to be to yours to count as a skeptic clone? Because I've seen a lot of accusations, and some of them really weren't that close.
You know, I have to give Armored Skeptic some credit for going after Black Pigeon Speaks. I have, and Lord knows it has been quite the annoying experience doing so.
Cool story, bro.
Ah, I can see you invested a lot of energy into refining your jokes. Whatever, okay, it's Nightmare Fuel. He's got a non-animated black and white skeleton avatar with headphones and a suit done in kind of a fake scratchboard style, I guess. It's original, done by a user by the name of Atheist Ghost for Nightmare Fuel. So the visuals don't match at all. Aside from the visuals, of all the YouTubers, I would say it's pretty obvious when you listen to him that his #1 inspiration is Atheism is Unstoppable, not you. Now, your avatar is a copyrighted image of a helmet that you ripped off Google, another copyrighted image of a helmet that you ripped off Google, and your suit is another copyrighted image that you ripped off Google also. And hey, I'm not judging. I don't think anyone really cares where you stole your images from. Everybody does it to some extent. I mean, just most of us are smart enough not to use it as a branding image. But it's not exactly an original work of art, is it? Original being the key word. And more importantly, it's not remotely similar to Nightmare Fuel's look, unless you think suits make all things equal, even if one of those suits is a tuxedo and the other one isn't. Which personally I find a little bit insulting to the individuality of well-dressed men everywhere.
Remember who taught you to tie a fresh tie, wear a dope suit, and look super fly. Don't forget, that was me, you snot-nosed punk. I'm the master that taught you to properly debunk.
You don't need God or Christianity for morality. This is Atheism 101.
I'll just remember you said that for later, probably in my follow-up video about Christianity. Now, I'm gonna skip a lot of this video because I'm not here to defend any of Nightmare Fuel's statements or to pick apart your responses to them unless they're relevant to one of my core points or just especially stupid. You two are welcome to squabble with each other about the rest, but I'm just not interested.
I really love the way that he's put our characters right next to each other. It really highlights just how unoriginal his character is.
Okay, I guess this is as good a time as any to really get into this. Get it out of the way so we can concentrate on the more important stuff, which is also somehow the less satisfying stuff. So, I've already pointed out that there isn't any significant similarity between Nightmare Fuel's imagery and yours, and that his delivery clearly is not inspired by you, but by Atheism is Unstoppable. But since you brought up originality, let's talk about that. Here is a tweet from you from September 2016 identifying me as your primary inspiration. And hey, pal, that's okay. I'm happy that my examples inspired others to make anonymous suited skeptic avatars like mine. The more the merrier. And hey, it's not like I have some trademark on personality-based, comedy-laced dissections of creationists, right?
They call me Logic, king of the YouTube skeptic game. Since I showed up, nothing has been the same. Creationists, I set their asses up in flames. Muslims, I lay waste to all their claims.
But here's what bothers me. In this tweet, you go on to say, until Saint Rawman came along, I was the only cartoon/animated character in the skeptic community. You said this because you were calling Naked Ape a skeptic clone. Again, just for having an avatar with a suit. I was joking before, but maybe you really do think a suit makes all else equal. God damn. Now, I've been hearing you bitch about these supposed skeptic clones for years. As you say, since Saint Rawman. And that's interesting because I can think of several people just off the top of my head who were here before you and who should meet those criteria. But according to your claim, either they don't meet those criteria or they don't exist. Now, let's keep in mind that the first video that's still on your channel is from March 2014, although I think your real first video was in February 2014. So all of my examples are going to be from before then. Now, where do I even begin? Well, what do you say we start with the more anti-SJW crowd? They probably count as part of whatever this thing is that you're calling the skeptic community, right? So how about Micromedia?
Something happened. The file wasn't saved properly, and I basically lost last night's work, which, I mean, normally that doesn't bother me because I just figure that's fate's way of telling me that I was fucking it up and I should do it over.
Now granted, he didn't use that avatar very much, except in his intro, but there he is, using a cartoon avatar. Oh, silly me though, maybe you mean cartoon and animated. I mean, it's not like your Armored Skeptic avatar is animated. One frame every few seconds isn't really animation, but okay. What about Bane666AU?
But is the George Mason University statistic correct? Because 1 in 3 worldwide is still very bad, right? And after all, some websites had quoted 1 in 3 worldwide. Luckily, the George Mason University stats had a citation.
I wonder what your objection might be to that. Don't like the robot voice? I know you've heard of these people. Okay, how about Jehovah God? He's actually seriously animated. Properly animated. Not your fake-ass shit that everyone seems convinced is animation for some reason. And hey, this guy even has a real voice.
Welcome to another edition of Ask God, where I answer the most frequently asked questions from stupid mortals. Let's get this over with.
But I guess, hey, you could argue whether he really counts as part of the skeptic community, right? He doesn't really debunk anything, he just makes satirical atheist points. Because, you know, that's a big difference. So I guess that objection would apply to Dark Matter 2525.
There will be mockers and scoffers following their own desires.
And?
And what?
That's supposed to mean something?
Saitan Atheist.
Oh my fucking God! I will name you the only thing I ever take in vain. That is the name of fucking Logic, bitch!
Some grey bloke.
How do we know that God processes pain in the same way that we do? A God might not even have the central nervous system. And even if he did, surely he could just choose not to feel anything.
All of whom are fully animated cartoons too. But I guess none of them count because reasons. And of course PW Swivel doesn't count. I mean, sure, yeah, he's an animated character who's definitely part of the skeptic community, making content with seriously presented arguments, not just satire. And he wears a suit, just like you later chose oh so originally to do. But he's not a cartoon. He's a picture of Frankenstein's monster, so clearly it's completely different.
No, those are still examples of the same singular definition.
Although, granted, Armored Skeptic isn't any more of a cartoon since he's just a photograph of a suit and a photograph of a helmet. Who else? I feel like I'm missing a really important example here. One who, more severely exposes the lack of originality that's hiding behind all that defensive posturing. But who am I thinking? Aha! Say! Greg, everyone loves those cute little angel and demon characters of yours, right?
We finished the entire 2016 lineup. It's all ready to go. It's gonna be smart, informative, enlightening, hilarious, witty. Oh yeah, 2016's coming up, Ahmed Media.
How original. But say, pal, do you recall that collab I participated in right as the new year 2014 started? That one I made where I and 15 other channels all included promos of ourselves and then uploaded the compilation to each of our channels? I bet you do. You were watching me and probably a bunch of them back then. Well, do you remember this guy?
I, Gabe Angel, want to wish all of the true believers out there mission accomplished.
That's John Smith. He's a fella who was operating for a good, I don't know, about 5 months before you came around? Yeah, a cartoon angel character with a suit and a halo. Huh, rings a bell.
2016's coming up, Ahmed Media.
Intriguing. Not damning, but intriguing. But how about this? A cartoon demon character in a red suit with a black shirt, red horns, and a lisp.
You think just because you work in the penthouse and I work in the basement, that I don't have keys to the top floor offices, huh? Haven't you read Job? God and I have conversations all the time.
We finished the entire 2016 lineup. It's all ready to go.
Oh, Greg. You know, for someone who pisses and moans so fucking much about the originality of others, you sure haven't bothered to get much of your own. Oh, but right, it's not animated. Because your demon character is so animated. Bobbing up and down lazily. You know, just like that goofy shit I was doing for years before you came along. What kind of eulogy was that, you douche? So, there isn't much else to say about that, is there, man? You're not original in any of the ways you think you are. And I, for one, have known it for years and kept quiet. But at this point, you've allowed your Z-list internet fame to go to your head worse than I've ever seen it happen to anyone before. To the point of becoming completely delusional. And delusional is the nicest thing I can call this because my only choices are to question your sanity or your honesty. Oh, I just remembered. You remember when you tried to stop being a cartoon animated character and start being a filmed avatar like me? That was fun.
When I debunk a video, it woos atheist names. When I do a shout out, it sends channels off to fame. I wear this giant top hat to hold my enormous brain, and these 3D glasses, they put your style to shame.
Whatever, man. Go have fun being a Logic clone, and just keep on whining about all those despicable copycats of your revolutionary, unprecedented self. And as for me, I'll keep being totally original. See, I'm the first black-clothed, black-masked, filmed character in the Skeptic community. 100% original.
See, the problem with all you non-Christians and atheists, the problem is you might realize that God and Jesus loves you because he does love you. He loves you more than anything in the world. But you seem to think that just because he loves you, that he's just gonna, stop you from burning and crying and screaming and suffering in hell forever.
Fuck!
My rhymes are pivotal, yours remain typical. My style irresistible, yours is just pitiful. I'm breaking down an imbecile while you look at me quizzical. Stand down, knave, my victory is unequivocal.
Your enemy has annihilated Bolt. Yes, destroy their
People can feel safe crossing this bridge because it was designed to support lots of traffic going back and forth every day. But what if it hadn't been designed with human beings and their vehicles in mind? What if the Brooklyn Bridge had been constructed as a big perch for pigeons?
Well, that'd be remarkably altruistic.
Perhaps to keep them off the buildings of Manhattan.
Oh, okay. Remarkably poorly thought out.
In that case, wouldn't it be utterly foolish to drive your car across it?
Why? I mean, regardless of whether you realize your ridiculously over-designed pigeon perch can hold a car when you build it, it still can. The object you proposed is just the Brooklyn Bridge, except built for a silly reason. And you can still drive a car over the Brooklyn Bridge just fine, no matter how silly your reason for building it is. You know, sort of like how if you design a hammer and you say it's meant to be used as a dinner plate, it will still work to drive nails into wood.
Does it make sense to trust something with a task that goes vastly beyond what it was meant to do?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're not sure that the bridge is going to hold the weight of a vehicle, you might want to give it a test or two before you go driving across it. If it doesn't pass testing, which it will because it's the Brooklyn Bridge, but even if it didn't, maybe find some way to reinforce it until it reliably holds the weight all the way across. And then, yeah, obviously it makes sense. You seem a little bit confused about what makes something work for a purpose. What makes something work for a purpose is not whether it was built for that purpose, but whether it has attributes that allow it to be used or adapted to suit that purpose.
This is the basic idea behind the argument from reason.
Oh, well, the argument from reason sounds kind of stupid then, don't you think?
This is the basic idea behind the argument from reason, which is mainly an argument against naturalism. Naturalism is the claim that the natural world is all that exists. No God, no angels, no demons, just matter, energy, and natural forces. Many atheists are naturalists. But the argument from reason can also be used to support belief in God. So, here goes.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I am not afraid.
Human beings have the ability to reason. We're using it right now. We wouldn't have discussions like this if we thought that our cognitive faculties, the processes that produce our beliefs, were unreliable.
As a half-reptoid, half-demon, half-human hybrid, I feel qualified to speak about this. So, clearly, our belief-producing abilities are unreliable. Sure, we're sitting here having a discussion. We can agree on basic syntax and the meanings of words, usually, but we believe totally different things. You believe God exists. You believe he sent Jesus to die for our sins and all that, whereas I believe it's all a myth that's taken way too seriously. You believe that if the Brooklyn Bridge was built to hold pigeons, it would be insane to think it might be able to hold a car, whereas I believe that the strength of a structure is based on what the structure is and not why it was built. And these differences of opinion exist for pretty much any truth claim you can think of, including the one I'm making right now. Different humans believe all kinds of mutually exclusive things. One single human can even hold multiple contradictory beliefs in their own head. So clearly, the mechanisms humans use to form beliefs are not completely reliable. And yet we're still having this conversation, so of course we're able to have these conversations even though the abilities that produce our beliefs are unreliable. Why would we not be able to? Now, you could act like a little kid and say, "Aha! I got you! You admitted your reasoning is flawed." Yeah, I did. That's because I'm not full of shit. And I'm not so cocky that I think I lack the weaknesses that every single human being on this planet has. But if someone decides to be that cocky, well, it doesn't make them any less flawed or any less wrong.
The naturalists have a problem here because they can only explain things by appealing to natural objects, natural events, natural causes.
Oh, I didn't realize there was anything to explain. What did you want explained exactly?
Think about this for a moment. You have beliefs. Ultimately, according to naturalism, your beliefs must be the result of physical processes in your brain. Now, what's going on in here? Particles in motion, chemical reactions, neurons firing. It's all physical, governed by laws of nature, not by commitment to truth.
Right, kind of like how your computer is governed by laws of nature, not by YouTube videos and Photoshop. And?
So what really seems like careful reasoning to you is actually straightforward, mechanical, mindless cause and effect. A fancy array of falling dominoes.
That's right. That in and of itself is not a problem. A computer can reach a correct result even though it's just a mechanical, mindless system of cause and effect. As a matter of fact, I would argue that a system that does not operate based on cause and effect is a hell of a lot less likely to produce a correct result. Because otherwise what you have in your head is basically the infinite improbability drive from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The problem with humans is in the fact that humans have complex processes that prevent cold hard reasoning to varying degrees. Emotional commitments to ideas or people even when they're false or harmful. Too much willingness to jump to conclusions. Pattern seeking and agency seeking so strong that they generate tons of false positives. And on and on and on and on and on.
Illusions aside, then, you arrive at your beliefs via a process that has absolutely nothing to do with whether those beliefs are true or false. Chemicals couldn't conceivably care less.
Right, exactly. Which is exactly why you have 1 billion or so Hindus, 1.5 billion or so Muslims, a couple of billion Christians, not to mention the countless other religions, and all of those groups have significant differences of beliefs within them as well. It's why some people believe in ghosts, and others in aliens, and others in transdimensional Sasquatches. It's why people believe you can heal someone by hovering your hands over parts of their body, and others think you can do it with magic water, and others believe you can get rich by creating a vision board. billions of people believe mutually exclusive things. Every single person has some belief that conflicts with some other person's belief. And they can't all be right, based simply on the axiom that two contradictory things can't be true. The vast majority of these crazy beliefs are wrong. No, Dave. Naturalists are not the ones with the problem here. If you disagree with my assessment of human reason, then you're the one with the problem, because your assessment does not match reality.
So, if naturalism is true, what sense does it make to trust our reasoning ability or our beliefs or even our belief in naturalism?
Whether naturalism is true or not, it makes no sense to trust our reasoning in the simplistic way that you're talking about. Regardless of whether God invented souls that drive our reasoning or if we're just meat computers, the facts are still plain. Humans believe an unbelievable amount of stupid shit for stupid reasons. It's not the exception, Dave, it's the rule. Again, it comes back to your confusion about the Brooklyn Bridge. The reason why our reasoning is so terrible is completely irrelevant to the fact that it is terrible, as all of the evidence shows us. And so yeah, you should not place your full trust in the truth of naturalism. You also shouldn't place your full trust in the existence of God. This is why we have skepticism. If you recognize that you can be deceived, then if you actually want to be right, you're going to need to find a way to avoid being deceived. And that way is to refuse to strongly believe any important claim until you have solid evidence to support it. It's not always going to work because you're still human, but it will prevent you from assuming something's true when you have no good reason to. And speaking of assumptions, I'd propose that in the light of our horrible ability to reason, we might just be safer in making the fewest possible assumptions. Because the more assumptions we make, the more likely we big dummies are to get something wrong. So for example, if you observe humans thinking and doing things, and you see that stuff is reliably happening within their brains when they do it, and you can modify the things they think and do, and you add chemicals or electrical currents into the brain or the nervous system, and your prediction was that if naturalism is true, then humans should have poor reasoning ability when it comes to the bigger questions, and indeed there doesn't appear to be much consistency in reasoning whatsoever between different people regarding those questions, so clearly there is a hell of a lot of poor reasoning going on, then it's safer to believe that the mind is a product of the physical brain than to assume, in addition to all of that, the existence of an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent creator God that sent his son to die on a cross to save people from sin. But hey, you know, do what you like. It's not like I expect you to act rationally. I'm a naturalist.
But it gets worse. How did we acquire our reasoning ability, according to the naturalist? Human beings obtain the ability to reason through the creative powers of evolution, natural selection acting on random mutation. Obviously, the random mutation part isn't going to fill us with a tremendous degree of confidence, so the question is whether we can count on our good friend, natural selection, to sift through all the intellectually deficient mutant traits, leaving us with a reliable belief-forming mutant trait.
Okay, I've already answered this, and the answer was clearly it didn't. So instead, I can just pick at your terminology. It's weird that you characterize reason as one single trait. I mean, I can see how you got there, but wouldn't it make more sense to characterize it as a collection of traits? Also, the fact that you would characterize a trait or a property of an organism as intellectually deficient in and of itself is a bit odd, since traits and properties don't have minds. Also, when you say natural selection is sifting through traits, it sounds like you're assigning it intention, when the whole point is it doesn't have intention. Whatever, nitpicking over, you can continue.
Here you might want to pull out your Biology 101 textbooks. Does natural selection favor philosophical insight?
Nope. Or at least not for most of our biological history. Which is why most people are so damn terrible at philosophy. And why most philosophy literature